Welcome to this Ubuntu Project video facilitated by Zentertainment Enterprises. Be sure to like and subscribe if you learned something new. Now, onto the video.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today for our talk therapy sessions, where we're going to dive in today and talk about unpopular opinions in motherhood. But before we do that, let's give a really quick introduction for everybody who is viewing and supporting us today in this session.
Well, hey, everybody. So glad to be here with you, Danielle. I'm Virginia Steward, and I am currently a stay-at-home mom and wife, but also the founder of Steward Co., a social media agency just geared towards helping young or new content creators, business owners to steward what God has given them well across all social media platforms. And so I'm just really happy to be here with you guys today and have this conversation.
She's not giving justice of who she is. I'm just honored that we are doing this together. But before I get into all my love for her, I'm Danielle Washington, owner of Style Times Grace, a wellness business, a full-time educator, and also a mom of two littles. So we are so excited to kind of just go through how we got here, what we think about motherhood, and really give you guys some jewels on how you can show up for yourselves in society and what it means to be a mother. We both have had very different experiences, but we have been a part of each other's journey for a long time now. So we thought it would be a perfect opportunity for us to collaborate and to just talk about some unpopular opinions. So let's talk about like how me and you kind of like started to talk about motherhood, where motherhood started to take us in our journey. And I'll let you kick that off.
Oh, okay. So we met what? So many years ago. I don't even know what year that was. We met working at Yes Prep.
Yeah.
And at that time, neither of us were mothers. We were
Oh.
newly, freshly married, all of the things. And we ended up finding out the connection between my husband and you. And it's just been really dope ever since then. And so I became a mom in 2018 and with our first son, and also that was also the same year that we made our first move, and so with my husband's career, and it was a journey
Yeah.
that really kicked off from there for sure.
Yeah, so similarly to Virginia, I became a mother in 2018 too. And I mean, my journey has just been very interesting. I delivered very early and lost a child in the midst of that. And, God now has blessed me with my second, and now he's 15 months. So throughout that journey, we have both challenged our ideas of what motherhood is, right? We've had a lot of difficult conversations about like motherhood and how God shows up in that, how husbands show up in that, how parents show up, our parents show up in that. And oftentimes I think that society norms really pushes mothers, specifically sometimes Black mothers, into boxes of how we're supposed to show up with our kids. And for me, one of the things that I think is like a very unpopular opinion about motherhood is that I eliminate toys as much as possible. I'm a very minimal person. I don't think kids need a lot of toys. We have the same toys that we've had for Christmas, and I don't buy anything new.
Mhm.
And I know that there are some of my friends who don't really like that or think like kids need toys. And I'm definitely okay with that. But I am one of those moms who really thinks the minimum, and I think kids should be creative. I would love to hear just an unpopular opinion that you live by, Virginia, or just a spring off of what I've said about, the toys and how things kind of go maybe in your household.
No, I actually love that. And I am currently literally in the process of cleaning out a whole bunch of toys because my husband and I actually don't buy a lot of toys either, but family does,
Yeah.
despite what we continue to
Yeah.
say. And so like I've gone to the links of literally creating, like when there's a birthday or there's Christmas coming up, I'm like, let me create the list and then I'll send it out to y'all. Y'all can buy from this, right? And there's a really
Yep.
dope app that we use for that, but people don't listen. So for me, that is also one thing for me. But the just to say something different, like my kids are not allowed to be going to everybody's house and staying
Mm,
the night and doing
mm,
things or be in unsupervised areas
okay.
without one
An
of us.
adult. Well, are
Yeah,
you or
adults.
your
Yeah.
husband?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I feel like every parent is not the same. Everybody doesn't pay attention to the same things. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
unless I'm trying to think if there's ever been a time, I don't think there's ever been a time really where I've left my children, unless it was like with my grandparents or
Okay.
my mom or something like that. But other than that, it's not happening.
How do you feel as though you've arrived to that decision?
I just we're just very protective of our children and what they are exposed to,
Yeah.
right? And so we want to be involved in that as much as possible, which of course kids have to be kids and they have to learn to navigate different scenarios and things in life. However, I don't know what every child has been exposed to. I don't
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean, whether in the
Yeah.
home, outside of the home, you just don't know those things. And so I kind of
Mm-hmm.
try to watch, but also I look for teaching moments within those moments for my child too. Because both of my kids, so I have two,
Mm-hmm.
um, and both of them, we homeschool them. So they're at home
Okay.
with us majority of the time. So when it comes to adults, like they are good. When it comes to kids, they're good. They love being around other people. But like I said, there's just certain things that certain children may be exposed to or not exposed to, or there's certain things that they may not have encountered yet that I want to be able to help them kind of navigate and use certain interactions to teach them, guide them.
Yeah. What I hear you saying is that you want a little bit more control over the things that your child is exposed to, your children are exposed to rather.
Yes.
And I totally echo that. And I think for me, where I can piggyback off of that is that I think about like the schools that I decide to put my children in, right? I think that I want a little bit more control over those environments, being that we both have been in education and that I'm currently in education. I think that I just have a different perspective of what a system and a school should look like, right? And I don't have, the capacity as if like you do to homeschool, nor do I think I'm about that life. Let me name that too. I think that you
Listen,
are the right person for the job. And if you ever come back to Houston, can Gia sign up? Because
listen, I got
um,
you. I didn't think I
so
was a person either. I never would
yeah.
have thought that I would be in
Yeah,
this.
but like I said, I think that your just educational background is perfect for that. And like when I've navigated what type of school I want my children to go through, I want to have control over that, right?
Mhm.
And I think as parents, it's okay to have control over certain things. I think another thing that I think about that is an unpopular opinion is that like having boundaries with your family members, right? And how difficult that is, right? And
Mhm.
I've experienced that firsthand. I'm sure you have. And I'll share this. I think for me, I had to let go of, when my kids would may go to my mom's house, right? And what they eat, how long they stay up and
Mhm.
watch TV, how much tablet time, right? And for me, I used to want to try to control that narrative, right? And say, like, well, they have to do this when they're over there and they have to do that. And this is what's best for them. But I also had to think to myself is that if I'm trusting my children to go over here, right? And I don't allow them either to go over many people's house. But if you are the one person of the few, right? I am going to trust that are they safe, right? And are they happy? Right. And if they don't come back to me and say, Mom, this happened, or Dad, this happened, then I am going to allow my mother to control her environment because I cannot control something that I'm not there for, right? And if I'm sending you over there, then I know that you have my child's best interest, even if it's not what I want it to be, right?
Mhm. That's good.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I find myself even, with my business coaching moms around, if they're a single mother, right, and they're going to the dad's house, right, the mom feeling as if when the kid comes back, I have to put my kids back on a schedule and I have to do all of these things.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes my push to women, including myself, we are not the begin all to end all, right? And there are other
Mhm.
people who want to show up for our kids. And we have to trust that if I'm sending Gia to her grandmother's house, that if you know you're not supposed to have soda, then don't have soda because I'm teaching you those things, right? And it's not about what you do when you're with me. It's about how you show up when you're with other people, right?
Mhm.
And I think for me, that determines what work I need to do as a mom and how I'm showing up. And instead of looking at the actions of adults around soda or TV time, right? Now, other actions that are a little bit more like, hey, I need to keep my eye on that, then that's
Mhm.
different. Um, But that is an unpopular opinion that I do share, as far as giving up and releasing some of the control that I may have had early on, right? Maybe due to my own trauma around what's happening when I'm not there, if this is a person that I've trusted for my child to go to. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
around?
No, I agree. And I love how you point it back to yourself. I think that's something that I probably need to do more of. So I agree with that. And I love that perspective of saying, hey, it's not necessarily about these other people. Like I've already said that my child can go, so I trust them. Now I have
Mm-hmm.
to rest in that trust that I've given them, but also focus in on, okay, what is my child choosing to do? What choices are they choosing to make as a direct reflection or as a result of my teaching and my parenting to them, right? Are they confident to make those right decisions as
Yeah.
according to what they've been taught? I think that's really, really huge. And I think a lot of us could probably agree with that. And also, I love how you framed it as a need to release that control, right? Because essentially that's exactly what it is. And like
Yeah.
you said, due to traumas, due to my own probably upbringing trauma and things like that, I could definitely see where that is the case. And um, where like I know for me and my lifestyle, which like we move often, which is what is a big part of why I do homeschool. And I
Mm-hmm.
do try to have control over those situations and things like that. But I noticed and I see how how it could show up in
Mm-hmm.
me trying to control the other outside environments when I really can't.
Yeah.
And so just taking time to really release that and pray and know that at the end of the day, if I can't see it, I know that God can. And so again, trusting even that in the situation, I think is really, really important for a lot of us.
Yeah. So I want to, you just said trusting that and praying. I would love to know and learn more about, like, how do you teach your children about God? How does that show up, in your day
Yeah.
to day with, with you relocating sometimes pretty
Mhm.
often? Do you have a church home, or how do you incorporate God into, your children's lives? That is something that, transparently, I'm trying to do a better job of. And I
Mhm.
also will transparently say, like, I don't want to commit to a church, right?
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
but I think when I thought about my children's school, I wanted it to be a faith-based organization, because I believe that if they don't have me and their father, right, and they may not have other loved ones, but if they have God, then they will feel
Yeah.
and be okay if they know something outside of us, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, after the loss of my child, that's the only reason why I'm standing here today, because I had to get to a point to say it got to be bigger than me. It has to be,
Mhm.
like, because
Yeah.
why else would this happen? Like, so I would love to just hear your thoughts about that.
And I love that question. I was actually just asked the same question over the weekend at a panel discussion that I was a part of. And one of the main things that I share with them that I'll share with you all is that to lead by example. So like
Mm,
one of the things that we do, like my children, they will see they'll see my husband reading our Bibles. We have Bibles that are catered to kids. We also have study Bibles for them for when they get older that I go and I'll like scriptures that I come across in my own private time. I'll go in and highlight them for them so that when they get older and
mm,
they do start to read their Bible on their own, they have that to go to as a keepsake, all of the things. Another way that I incorporate and I teach them about God is just by the music they listen to. We fill our home with worship music all the time, even if it's just background noise, whatever. Christian hip hop, like our kids love music. We love music. We're listening to it all the time. And so I try to make sure that the things that we do listen to, even in the car,
mm.
are faith-based Christian music. And they love it. So if you hear my kids singing, they're either going to be singing football related songs, right? Or they're going to be singing worship songs, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, and then even just down to books, like there's so many kids' books. My son literally asked the other day for a book that we've read before that he loves, and it's talking about how to meditate and how to listen for the voice of God. And it goes through the story of Elijah. And so just different things like that. And just like you teach your kids your colors, just like if you're driving down the street, okay, what color is that? Is the same way that we can have the conversation about God and creation and who made you and
So making it
why
more
you're
relatable to children.
making it all more relatable and just incorporating it in our everyday lives. Like, and our kids, like, we went to the doctor the other day and my son literally told the doctor, like, God made me this way. God made you too. And God made you to help me. And it's
Mm,
like little moments like that where
mhm.
he'll say things like, yeah, I love everybody, but I love God more. Right. And those are things that I may not know that that are seeping in, but we plant seeds every day.
Yeah.
Whether we know it or not, of one thing or the other. And so like one thing that we're just really big on is just making sure that we are planting those seeds of faith. We pray with them every night, even if my husband's not here. We hop on FaceTime, they already know, hey, daddy's going to pray or mommy's going to pray. And now they're starting to pray on their own as well as a part of that time. So just in this, it doesn't have to be this big old grand thing, this big old grand lesson. Like there's ways to incorporate that in everything. So I'm finding day by day. So
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm always curious of what other mothers do to incorporate God or just create some type of sustainability around, you know, you're not always going to have mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, but how will you be able to sustain your life, right, when things get hard? And I think faith is such a big a part of that. And whether, people explore different types of faith, or what that may mean to your family. But I think children being rooted in some type of practice that supports their mental health, right?
yeah.
And that's what this series is all about, mental health and how we can support mothers and how can we support our children, because I think that oftentimes mothers go through a lot of things that they don't say, right? And they are protecting their children, they are protecting, their household and their homes, and I push, myself, I push you, and I push other mothers who are listening to this conversation or fathers who want to tune in and get a couple jewels that, just be aware of how you're feeling and how you're showing up, and have people in your community that you trust that you can say like, hey, I'm having a day and I need to talk to you, right? Or Virginia and I don't talk all the time, but I know that when we do talk, it's going to be a fruitful conversation. I'm going to leave it like, oh, I didn't even think about that, right? And we don't have to talk monthly. We can talk every 3 months. And I think that's still community, right? And
Yeah.
thinking about how you define community within motherhood, because we all get busy, right? And getting her to do this with me, y'all, but I knew that she would be the perfect person to just talk about boundaries in motherhood and what that means for mental health. So we really, really enjoy you guys like tuning in and holding space with us. And before we leave, we just really want to wrap up on some affirming information and really know that every mother out there, every father out there, that they are resilient, right? Because there's no handbook to do this. And we just hope that we are doing a good job. And I'll leave people with this. Please be self-reflective. Please be self-aware of yourself. Please take a moment to just pause, be with your self, be with spirit, whatever you identify that as. And everything is not personal, right? Motherhood is really not personal. What your children are doing are not personal. What your spouse is doing more specifically is not personal either, right? But what you are doing really is the call that I will push people with. And, and that's my call every day, is for me to just kind of be more self-reflective of how I'm showing up. And that if you have people in your life who are your community, be patient with them, give them grace. And I hope that you guys extend that grace to yourselves and more specifically to your children, because we are definitely, as mothers, cultivating the next generation, and they need to be wrapped, they need to be surrounded, and they definitely need to be prayed for.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said everything that needs to be said. Honestly, like you said, that self-reflective part, because I know I'm in a space right now where I'm trying to do that way more. And that you said, that whole personal thing, it's not personal. And so if you
Yeah.
could remind yourself of that, even in the hard moments, like it's not personal, and you reach for your strength where you know you can find it. That is.
Can you give us a scripture that you could leave us with, that you feel that you go to when you feel like you are in a time of need, or if you're in time of reflection, or you just really feel like, God, like I'm feeling alone right now in this motherhood journey? What do you go to? Because I would love for you to leave that resources with our viewers and for me too.
Listen, the one that comes to mind, I feel like everybody knows it, but it's the first one to pop in my mind. And it is
Okay.
Proverbs 3:5-6, where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him. And I think that's a perfect scripture for us in the journey that we take as mothers, as wives, or whatever our situation is. And it reminds us to trust in him. So no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on, no matter what we feel, like we have somebody that we can trust, that we can go to, which is God. And to lean out on our own understanding. Sometimes we think things are away. Sometimes we take the way that our children or husbands behave personally. We don't really have to.
Yeah.
We don't really need to. And we don't need to just only lean on that logical understanding all the time. Sometimes we have to say, you know what, God, I don't understand this, but I know that you do, and I'm trusting that you will help me through it. I'm trusting that you have a purpose for what I'm going through, what I'm seeing. And so just knowing that everything serves a purpose will help to shift our perspective. And so as we shift our perspective, we're able to present ourselves then in the proper way and see things properly. And so I've hounded that scripture into my mind, and I definitely lean on it a lot just to
Thank
remind me.
you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed our session. If you want to get in touch with either of us, how can they get in touch with you, Virginia?
You can find me on all social media platforms at I am Virginia Steward. You can, find me on all the platforms.
All right. And same for me. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at www.styletimesgrace.com. Thank you guys so much for joining our sessions, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day.
Bye, y'all.
Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to know when we upload a new video.